here's how our family life has gone. We get up, we get our kids dressed, they go to daycare or school. Colin goes to work. I work all day. We pick our kids up, we come home, we eat dinner, we get in the bath, we go to bed. Rinse, wash, and repeat 5 days a week. On the weekends, we do things as a family. Go to the farmer's market, but we also have to do the laundry and the dishes and meal prepping for the week and all of that. And I feel like it is the same thing over and over and over again. And why the are we working so hard for that? Hello, new year. Fresh energy, starting things off strong, I hope for all of you, or whatever, starting however you want to start this year. Whatever you've decided you're going to do, I hope that you pursue it fiercely this year and in full force. We are doing that. And this episode today is going to be all about planning for camper life. I am going to take you guys behind the scenes of this, where this idea even came from, what we're doing. We are planning to leave in the middle of June, which will be here literally before we know it and feels really big and scary and exciting. So many feelings, actually. I have a lot of thoughts around this. So we're going to dive into it today. I want to take you guys back to where this first started. Sometime in 2025, at the beginning of the year, I think I came up with this idea then. It may have been in 2024. I don't know. Living in a camper and going and traveling has been something that I'm kind of like, this could be cool. But what's the reality of us really being able to do that? And I finally talked to Colin about it and was like, we should do this. Like, let's sit down, let's talk about it. And I just kind of kept like I kept easing it into conversation. Here's the deal with Colin. I will have an idea and in 2 hours have the idea fully fleshed out, be fully committed to it, and be all in. That is how quickly I move. Colin is like, you can tell me about an idea, but you've got to like slide it to me as a just hypothetical thought. I need to sit and marinate with it for an extended period of time, and then maybe I'll be able to move on it. And it also has to, I have to be so gentle about how I bring things up because Colin is so structured and very routine. But what's so interesting is that I think he's gotten a little less that way. And with some of the changes that his job has made and just where he is, I think he's going, I'm ready to do something different. I'm ready to do something different. And that's very exciting. So we finally made the decision. I think it was sometime in the summer of 2025, like June, July, somewhere in there. We had a date night. We went and looked at campers. We were like, we're going to do this. So let's just be fully committed to it. Let's go look at campers. Let's go see what we want, what we don't want. And since that time, Colin has started planning out our route. So keep in mind, Colin, again, being a planner and being someone who's like, I've got to understand what we're doing here, is like, we're going to fully commit to this for a year. And we'll see where that takes us. He's very open to, does that bring us back to Indiana? Do we keep doing this? Do we find a campground to buy? In fact, he has verbally said, he has said the words, I want to buy a campground. I want to buy a campground. I was like, we were in the car one day and he said this, and I was like, oh, okay. All right. All right. So that could happen. We might move, we may not come back to Indiana. We're very open to what could be our next steps, and we don't have clarity around that right now. What we do have clarity around is that we've committed to going and doing this for at least a year, maybe a little over a year, just to get through the whole summer and plotting out our route and really figuring out what we want to do. So Colin has spent, I don't even know how many hours doing that, researching campers, researching campsites. I've also helped with that, mapping out our route. What we have heard from some people in the space who do this is that you don't want to go any more than 300 miles in a day. And if you could go less than that, great, but no more than 300 miles in a day. You want to show up. I think that they said you want to show up to a campground like 3 hours before dark or something like that. There's a three something. It's like the rule of threes, basically. And we've heard a lot of different variation about this, but 300 miles in a day. You want to stay at a campground for at least 3 days or 3 nights. And then you also want to show up, I think, 3 hours before dark. For some reason, that's the rule of threes that I think he's been planning around. So he's taken a look at kind of what we did first was we plotted out the different spots where we wanted to go. So we said we want to hit as many national parks as we can. And we just kind of took a look at a map of the national parks, a map of the United States. We have this national parks book that we have in Eli's room that we've had since he was a baby. So I sort of flipped through that. We took a look at, where things were. We also knew that we did not want to be in cold weather climates inside of this camper, or at least not like snowing frigid temperatures. So we decided that we're going to go kind of northwest first and be able to hit Sioux Falls and Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone. We are going to dip down into Colorado. Glacier National, kind of like that area, head up over into Washington, go into Oregon, and then kind of come down from there. So that's the gist of the route in terms of how we're going to circle the United States and try to hit all of these places, as many as we possibly can. We're going to spend a lot of time in Florida and warm weather climates, especially in the winter, which will be fun. I'm trying to convince Colin that we definitely need to do a Disney cruise for my birthday and then go to the Fort Wilderness campground at Disney. It's going to be a whole vibe. That adds significant financial not strain. It adds money to the trip. Let's just say that. I think people think camper and you think like cheap, and it is not. That is not true. Not the reality. Depending on where you stay. Now we found a spot in Zion. The campground is called Jellystone, and you've probably heard of this if you know about camping. They have locations all over the place, and it is like there's a water park there. It is a whole vibe. I'm like, this may feel a little too commercialized for me, but we're gonna just see how it goes. Anyway, for a month, it's $33 a night. And we were like, yeah, that's cool. Like that's good. So if you can stay places for an extended period of time, that will definitely help. But we're not necessarily doing that. Like we don't necessarily want to be at a place for that long a period of time. The only reason we're going to do that in Zion is because my brother's getting married in October. So we'll have to come back here. And so we're like, we've got to have a spot where we can have this camper. And also we know that Zion is close to Bryce, close to Moab, close to Arches. So we're going to spend some time like driving over there and doing tent camping in those specific destinations and spots. And then we'll have to leave, fly back here for his wedding, and then go back. And so we've got to be somewhere for a little bit of an extended period of time, and that's going to be fine and all work out. Also, we're close to St. George. We've got some friends in St. George. A former boss of mine and their family lives in St. George, so it'll be good. But that's sort of in terms of planning and route. I'm going to say the majority of what we've done. We've taken a look at some campsites. At the time I'm recording this, we haven't officially booked anything yet. We need to book things because we're worried that, especially like July 4th weekend is going to get tricky for us to find spots and so forth. So we've got some work to do on that. Funny enough, we don't have a camper yet. That is going to be our mission in January and February of this year, is finding a camper. And we are doing some boat sport and RV shows for cabins on the Cumberland. So we plan to make some connections, hopefully, with some different dealers. What we've been told is that if we can buy used, that like used and not like nicely used, gently used, right, would be great, because these campers have a lot of warranty issues, we're finding out. And if you buy one that's used, typically they've been through some of those warranty issues. So hopefully we don't have to deal with it. Thankfully, Colin is incredibly handy, and hopefully via YouTube videos could diagnose things or figure out some things. I don't know, you guys. Like that is a side that I'm like, I have specific roles in this, and packing the family and making sure we have what we need and planning out our routes and finding campgrounds, that feels more my jam. Not so much the mechanics side of things. That feels like Colin's role in this. So we're going to find a camper together. Ideally, we're looking for a camper that has two bedrooms. So we want a bedroom for us, and we do want a bedroom for the boys. Like a bunkhouse is fine, but we want a bedroom for them. A one queen bed is fine, whatever. We just want them to have their own space. I don't want them to have their beds in the living room, because I am also going to have to work, and a lot of my job relies on me being on meetings. So I am going to need a space, and that likely may be in our bedroom. But I'm like, if the boys can at least have their own dedicated space, maybe we use the living room as like our flex space and just, hangout area. I just want to make sure we've got that. Ideally, we would also find one with a loft so that the boys can go play up there. I think that they would have fun with that. If we don't find the loft, that's okay. I'd rather have a second bedroom than a loft. So that's kind of something we're thinking about. And then we would love to have at least 1.5 baths. If we can find one with two full baths, fantastic. But at least 1.5 would be great. So those are sort of our thoughts right now. Now we'll see how flexible we have to be, just depending on what we can actually find. We have until roughly April to find something because we're planning to leave in June. I told Colin, I was like, we got it. We can't just we can't just buy this camper and then be like, okay, now we're going on this road trip. We need to buy this camper and then take it somewhere, test things out, see how things go, like live in it, maybe a couple weekends even before we actually go officially. So that's another thing that we're kind of thinking we gotta do that. But anyway, that's sort of where we're at in that process of camper. The other thing we'll have to do is Colin will have to get a new truck. That Colin's like, I'm not worried about that. We're gonna find some big dually diesel situation, I think is what he's looking into. Again, not my jam. Colin's jam. Colin's responsibility in this. And he's not worried about that. We got to be able to find the camper. But Colin was like, we have to find a truck first before we find a camper because if we go buy this camper, how are we going to get it home? We don't have a truck. I'm like, touche. I don't know, Colin. These are things you have to find out. So we're navigating those waters and trying to figure that out. I want to talk to you guys now that I've given you the logistics overview. I want to talk to you about the response we've gotten for us doing this. I also want to tell you guys the conundrum that I have felt in our decision here. Let me start there, actually. So we've decided to do this. We've been working on the planning. We've talked to the boys about it a little bit. Noah doesn't get it. Whatever. Eli, I think, kind of grasps what we're maybe thinking about, but I don't think he fully gets that. Like, he won't be going back to school next year. We've kind of said, how do you feel if dad is your teacher next year? How do you feel if we go live in a camper and see all of these cool places and do these things and go back to Arizona where you were born and show you where you were born? So he's kind of excited about those things. He sort of gets it, but we went to kindergarten orientation, not orientation. We went to a kindergarten open house at his school. So he's at a school where they have pre-K through 8th grade. And we went to the kindergarten open house, and his little buddy that he has been in daycare with since they were 18 months old, like they were at a daycare together. We were both very unhappy at the daycare. We left the daycare together. We went to this school together. It was a whole thing and very sweet. Like they love each other and it's really cute. They were there at the open house together and going through all the kindergarten rooms and doing the crafts and the activities. And I could not help but think, are we making the right choice? Are we doing the right thing here? I don't know. I don't have clarity around that. And I was talking to Colin about it and he was like, we don't have to do this. And I'm like, no, we're too far in. We're too far in. We are doing it. And if we don't do it this next year, we're not going to do it because once we get an Eli into a school, let's be honest, we're probably not going to leave. There's a big part of me that I go back and forth on this. I'm like, how do I want them to experience their life, their childhood? Because the decisions that Colin and I make will shape that. And there were parts of my school career as a kid that I loved. I loved the social side of things. I loved dance and show choir and cheer and student council and the National Student Council Convention that I got to have a leadership role in. I loved those, like that side of things. I had okay friends. Kids are mean. That was always hard for me. I don't unfortunately have any friends still from high school. Colin does. So I guess maybe I shouldn't say that. Richie is one of our friends, and I have known Richie since first grade, and he is Colin's really good friend, married to my best friend from college. So funny. And we love that for them. But I think that's the other thing that's been hard for us too, is like all of our friendships look so different right now because everyone has kids. And okay, hang on. I'm going to come back to that thought in a minute. Let's go back to kindergarten for a second. That was going to be a tangent, and we're going to stay here for a second. Focus, Steph, focus. Zone in. So I was struggling with that because do I want Eli to have this kind of experience of all of those activities and fun? I feel like I'm at this like T in the road, And there are two very distinct paths. Path one is we don't do this. We stay here in Indiana. We get the kids in the school system. They get involved in activities. They have friends. They have a lifestyle and a childhood like we did growing up, which there was nothing wrong with that. There was nothing bad about that. Colin and I aren't married to staying here in Indiana. It's fine. Um, it's not probably we would love to be in Colorado or Arizona. I would move back to Phoenix in a heartbeat. We would love to be somewhere there where there is more adventure and outdoor activity, very innately instilled, specifically with like mountains, and hiking and those type of outdoor activities. And that's just not here. Like there are state parks and so forth here in Indiana, and that's fine. But again, we don't really live near any of them. So, in Arizona, it was like I could walk out my backyard and we were in the desert. And we lived near Sonoran Desert Drive and we could ride our bikes over there. And it was so great. It was so great. We had to be mindful of rattlesnakes and scorpions, but it was so great. So anyway, that's like one path is like we stay here in Indiana and that's what it's going to be. And Colin potentially stays in his job, probably doesn't leave his job because I don't know, that's just where we're at. The flip side of this is the other path. We do this, and that could go in a few different ways. We do this and we're committed to it for a year. After that year, we could come back here. After that year, what if we find a campground we want to buy and we decide to like be the on-site operations team at least for a period of time? That could happen. We decide not to come back here and we decide to move. So it could go so many different ways. And I'm like, the decisions that we make are not, it's not just about Colin and I. If it were just about Colin and I, very different scenario. Very different scenario, actually. I don't even think we'd be back here in Indiana. We probably would have stayed in Phoenix. But anyway, here we are. And we have these two little lives that will be shaped based on the decisions we make. And it's like, ooh, that feels heavy. And what is best and right? And I think that there's a level of us that we know what's best and right for our family, and we just have to stick to it and go for it. But that I think has weighed on me a little bit more than I realize. So that's that. And that's my feelings and my kind of conundrum on the choice. I think we are going to just stay the course. We've made the decision. We're going to go. If we don't do it this year, we're not going to do it. So we're going to do it. And it's going to be great. Bar anything crazy happening. Colin was like, we've got to at least have some kind of backup plan because heaven forbid someone get very, very sick. Heaven forbid an accident. Heaven forbid we get hit with a $50,000 tax bill. I don't know. I'm just like throwing something out there that's random, but anything could happen. So we got to think through the things, right? And be responsible adults that have kids that rely on us. The other piece of this is the opinions that we've experienced around us doing this. And some of those have been positive, some of them have been not as positive. And I think it just comes back to we have to make a decision that's right and best for our family. Personally, this year, I've dealt with some health diagnoses of people really close to me, and they're not things that are solvable things. They're not solvable. They are what they are. I can't share the details on those for a variety of different reasons. That feels really heavy to me. At the same point in time, I have to remember that I have these two little lives that rely on me and these multiple businesses, and that's where I'm at. And that does weigh on me a bit, and it does feel like a heavy piece of the puzzle to take into consideration. I also can't stall my life, and I have to go live and do the things. So anyway, that's been that. But anytime that you make decisions that are against the quote unquote norm of society, right? This even goes back to like what I said in a previous episode. It's like I think sometimes those who know me or around me are like, "Oh, like you have these businesses, like that's so cute." And I'm like, "Okay. What does your husband do?" And I'm like, "Oh." Yeah, well, I can't wait to say next year, "Oh, yeah, we run these businesses and also he homeschools our kids and is the primary caretaker of our home because that is just who he is." Even now, he does that. I was thinking about that this morning. I was making Eli breakfast and I'm like, Colin makes the dishes, starts the dishwasher, makes the dishes. He makes our dinner. He does the dishes. He starts the dishwasher. He puts the dishes away oftentimes. He takes out the trash. Like he does it all. Does the laundry. Like make sure we're caught up on things. And I love him for that. Maybe I should contribute more. I'm like speaking this out loud and I'm like, this is not good. I should contribute more, but I'm very thankful that I have such an involved, active husband in all of those different capacities because that makes it easier for us to be able to continue to scale and grow as entrepreneurs, which Colin's going to get to step into next year. I'm going to get Colin on this podcast, you guys, for him to be able to share his thoughts and feelings and opinions with you on camper life and the plan here and embracing entrepreneurship and relying only on our business income because we haven't done that up until this point. Colin's always had a W-2. And so we haven't had to rely only on my income from the businesses. And that's going to be a bit of a change this year. So we're going to see how that goes. And no, it's going to be great. I know that it'll be great. It's just going to be a change. So just something that we have to adapt to. And that's really all there is to it, which will be good. So. All right. I hope this was a fun episode. We're ready. We are ready. We're not ready yet, actually, but we are mentally and emotionally and physically preparing, and we're very excited about this possibility and opportunity. We're going to keep sharing with you and take you along, but I thought that this would be a really fun episode to kick off 2026 with. It's not business. It's not my goals this year. It's like this is a lifestyle decision that we've made. And actually, really quick before we round out the episode, I'm going to tell you really fast why we made the decision. In the last couple of years, here's how our family life has gone. We get up, we get our kids dressed, they go to daycare or school. Colin goes to work. I work all day. We pick our kids up. We come home. We eat dinner. We get in the bath. We go to bed. Rinse, wash, and repeat 5 days a week. On the weekends, we do things as a family. Go to the farmer's market, but we also have to do the laundry and the dishes and meal prepping for the week and all of that. And I feel like it is the same thing over and over and over again. And why the fuck are we working so hard for that life? That's not that it's fine. Don't get me wrong. Like I do love our life, but I also want more, or maybe I just want different. Maybe I want variety. We work so hard, and I'm like, what are we working so hard for? Why are we sitting here on the couch at 8 o'clock at night still working after we've worked all day and not enjoying going and doing something? Why are we not doing that? Why are we not out in nature right now? Why are we not camping on the weekends? Why are we not doing X, Y, and Z? And it's like it's the lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle choice. We want a different level of flexibility and freedom, and we can do that. And I think getting out of our everyday environment is going to help us be able to see that and open the doors for some new opportunities. So that's what we're going to do. We had to make that decision based off of the lifestyle that we want our family to have and the memories that we want to make with our boys. And it's a total lifestyle play for sure for a year to see how it goes. And then we go from there and we decide. But I think Colin and I both get this weird 2-year itch. And we've been in our house now, the home that we live in. We've been here now, I'm trying to calculate, for almost 4 years. This is the longest place we've ever lived at one given time. And we are both very itchy. But I love our home. I love our home. It's great. Very thankful that we have this home. I think I've realized, I was telling Colin this recently. I've realized I don't need the big house. I actually don't think that's what I want. I don't want the big house. I want to travel. I want to go see. I want to experience. I want to explore. That's the life I want to live. I don't need a big house. I need a home base. I do feel like I need that. The home base can be the camper. That's fine for a year. But if we choose to rent our next space, because that's what we're going to do, we're going to keep this house that we're in currently. We're going to rent it out. It's going to be great. We're going to keep it. So we can always come back. But if we want to go rent our next house in a space that we actually want to live, that gives us more of the lifestyle that we want to have, that's going to be okay. I don't have to have things on my walls. I don't have to have everything be picture perfect because I'm going to be outside enjoying my life. I don't know. It's interesting. So that's where we're at. And that's why we're making the decisions that we're making. So I hope that this was a fun episode for you to listen to. Again, not traditional for the start of a new year, but fun for the plan that we've got. And if it doesn't happen, I will be sad. But right now we're planning for it to happen. It's going to be okay. All right. No more talking about backup plans. We're out of here. We're out of here today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me as we kick off 2026 together. We'll get back to regularly scheduled branding and marketing content as it pertains to short-term rentals, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Cheers.